In this podcast, we're going to talk about the two-factor theory, Schachter and Singer's theory, and concepts like the spillover effect. Okay, so on this side of the screen, you see a summary of the two-factor theory. One of the main questions to keep in mind whenever you're dealing with one of the theories of emotion is they're trying to explain, where do emotions come from? What causes emotion? Where do they result from? So here's basically a hierarchical summary of what's on this side of the page. Basically, for Schachter and Singer, emotions arise from the interaction, so make sure you draw this little arrow here, the interaction of cognition and physiological arousal. Okay, so and we'll develop this idea a little bit about what they mean by that. All right, so this is a really cool study that Schachter and Singer performed. There's actually another study as well, and they believe that this experiment provides evidence to support their theory. Now remember, they're not trying to explain all of our emotional reactions. They're trying to contribute to the theoretical musings about what may cause emotion. Okay, so they did this to undergrads, and they basically told them that they were going to come in and they were testing some drug called Suproxen. They made it up. What they were really doing was given certain groups, they were given all groups actually, a shot of adrenaline. Some people did receive a placebo. Okay, we're gonna focus on all of the people who received the adrenaline. They fall into three groups. One is the informed group. So those people were actually told that this Suproxen was going to result in palpitations and trembling. So they were told the side effects that usually are associated with adrenaline, norepinephrine. There was a deceived group. They did debrief with them after, okay, so they did reveal to them what was going on. So the deceived group said, we're told, okay, you're going to get this shot of Suproxen, this made-up drug, and there will be no side effects. We've studied this already. People have no side effects to it. So that's the second group. And then the third group, they were actually told you might get some side effects, but they were given side effects that were very, very unlikely to happen. So people don't usually get headaches from adrenaline. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, interestingly, after they were given the drugs, I'm right up here, a confederate, that is somebody who is working with the experimenter, but the subjects in the experiment don't realize this, came into the room and acted either euphoric or angry. Okay? Oftentimes when we're in front of other people who are acting either very aggressive, very happy, there will be changes in our bodily arousal in conjunction to what we're observing. Okay? So that is very normal to happen. So after these people were in the room, either acting euphoric or angry, the researchers asked the participants in those three groups to report, what are you feeling? Talk about your emotions. So here's a little picture, by the way, of some of the things that people did. This is the guy acting angry. This is the guy acting euphoric, right? So this is really interesting. The informed group, those who were told they were going to get basically Suproxen with the side effects that match adrenaline, they did not experience anger or euphoria. The reason why, I want you to follow this. Remember the idea that we have arousal and cognition in a two-factor theory? Well, they were told what to expect, so they used their cognition, they used their thinking, and they said, oh, my heart palpitations, right, or whatever else they were feeling, it's due to the shot, the Suproxen that I got, right? So they used their cognition, and they used it correctly, obviously. But those people who also received adrenaline, but were not told they did, and were not told to expect any side effects, well, they started having bodily arousal. And what Schachter and Singer are trying to say is that when we have bodily arousal, right, in terms of our emotions, we're going to try to look for an explanation. And what happened was, remember that both were given adrenaline. So regardless if you got the angry guy or the silly euphoric guy, your bodily arousal was going to be pretty much the same from the adrenaline. However, the people who were exposed to the angry guy felt angry. They misinterpreted their bodily arousal as anger. Those who actually were subjected to the happy guy, well, they reported it as happy. They reported their bodily arousal as happiness. So Schachter and Singer said this is evidence that whether rightly or incorrectly, we use cognition to make sense of our emotions. So what is this spillover effect? Okay, here's the spillover effect. So it has two components, the spillover effect. It's almost like emotions, we can catch people's emotions, so to speak, almost like a cold. It's not a law. Remember, it doesn't mean it'll always happen. And the other is from a previous event. The example that Myers gives you that's really good is, say you're having a day in which for the most part your emotional attitude is one of happiness. You had a great day either at your sport or in school, and let's say you're a senior in high school and you come home and there waiting for you are some acceptance letters to some colleges you're interested in, and you open up one that you really want to go to and you get accepted. Spillover effect suggests that you will actually have an increased sense of happiness and euphoria because you're already starting from a previous place of happiness. So what happens before can actually influence the intensity of the emotional reaction. So you're going from happy to even happier. But the idea is that the previous event will influence you. With the spillover effect, it's that we sometimes can actually other people's emotions can affect our emotional state. So here's like a pretty good sense of what's going on here. Right here. So Schachter and Singer are basically saying cognition matters. That's the important part. They're reintroducing the idea of cognition, right? Because we want to, how we're going to interpret our physiological responses, it's contextual, right? It could be our memories, it could be things like the spillover effect. And by the way, in this example, where these people incorrectly, caught the emotions of other people, they call it the misattribution of arousal. Okay? So cognition can mislead us as well, but fundamentally, cognition matters in emotion. This is what this experiment suggested.